back to another Media Moments with Moon. Today we're going to be talking about the new Marvel movie, The Legend of the Ten Rings, and comparing it to the new Snake Eyes movie. How this is going to work is I'm going to talk about an aspect the two movies shared and compare them. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, I want to talk about lighting. Now, in Snake Eyes, the lighting in this movie was terrible. You couldn't see what was happening most of the time because it was just too dark. Meanwhile, in The Ten Rings, Marvel used lighting to create some beautiful fight scenes. For example, the scaffolding fight with the neon signs in the background allowed for a nighttime fight scene in which the moves and fighting could be seen perfectly. Color was also a big part of the Ten Rings film, though I do feel it was overused. And this I'm referring to the blue versus red aspect, or yellow versus blue in some cases. While it made it very clear who was on what side, it was almost too on the nose to the point of being unrealistic. I think the main issue came with the sister, who was given a white outfit differently from literally everyone else's, and we were never told why. I know it was to represent her actually going to take over the Ten Rings, but there's no way the village would know that, let alone give her a different outfit because of it. Snake Eyes was a good example of how you don't need color-coded fights to follow who was on what side. I was able to keep up with who was fighting who pretty easily and didn't need to be spoon-fed it. Fan service would have to be a point to Marvel because every character that came on the screen you recognized gave a jolt of excitement and made sense in the film, plus added to the large world in which the Marvel Universe takes place. I won't lie, there were some where it felt a little bit unrealistic, but I don't know, Marvel has just this atmosphere about them that still made it really cool to see them. I did not get the same excitement from Snake Eyes, where the introduction of Hydra and the Joes felt more like an interruption than an incorporation. Also, they messed with Snake Eyes' origin story to the point where it didn't feel like him, which makes the movie hard to enjoy. We also have to talk about the fight scenes. Now, I'm sure the ones in Snake Eyes were excellent. The pieces I could see of it seemed rather cool, but between the bad lighting and the shaky cam, it didn't matter how good they were because they were impossible to follow. Meanwhile, the Ten Rings had some of the prettiest fighting scenes I have seen from Marvel yet. The fight between the Mandarin and the Mother was like a dance, and each fight scene was epic and entertaining to watch with its unique twists and lighting and style. And then you have that final fight with the dragon and the demon and the water coming around and the lights from the ring. Look, the movie's just really pretty, and that added to my enjoyment greatly. I will have to say Snake Eyes and the Ten Rings are tied when it comes to telling the backstory of their main element, and that both didn't really do it. Yet for Marvel it felt intentional, as in save it for other movies, while from Snake Eye it felt more lazy, as if it was something the writer wanted to avoid. The mythical creatures in both movies were cool, with every single one from the Ten Rings being a real Chinese creature representing something related to the movie, and the truth-seeking snake just being a cool idea and kind of fun to watch. None of the creatures in either movie got the background I would have liked, but I always appreciate the incorporation of mythology in any place I can get it. I can't end this video without talking about characters, so let's talk villains. I love the villains in the Ten Rings because the father was a complicated person. My dad personally didn't care for the make bad guy seem good, but I enjoy the classic love powers all, including good and evil. Plus you got the demons to fight, which was fun. Meanwhile, the villain in Snake Eyes was that classic evil for evil's sake character, which I don't think there's anything wrong with, I just prefer more depth in my villains. As for the main characters, Snake Eyes did have a good arc for Storm Shadow, and to be honest, it felt more like his origin story than Snake Eyes. He really stole the show, and I almost wish the movie had just centered around it. It would have been a cool twist on a Snake Eyes origin story, to have it actually be a Storm Shadow one, and given us a more depth to this character that's such an important arc to Snake Eyes, especially considering we all know a lot about Snake Eyes, but not as much as we would like about Storm Shadow. In the Ten Rings, the messaging on the main character's arc was way too much tell and not enough show. It spelled out to us that Katie and Sean are wasting their lives when they should be doing something impactful for them. I prefer subtle messages in my movies, and usually Marvel's good about that, but not with this one. The character arcs are explained to you, and I feel like not enough time with the characters was spent to show that the character arc was even really happening. Because to tell you the truth, Katie and Sean felt the same to me in the beginning of the movie as they did in the end. The last thing I want to compare is the humor and the fact that Snake Eyes has literally none, while the Ten Rings had a lot. I laughed a ton in the Ten Rings and do believe it to be one of Marvel's funnier movies, but of course with every movie that tries to put in a lot of jokes, some of them were definitely a miss. But there were more hits than miss in this movie, so it was still pretty good on the humor level. And I wish Snake Eyes would have had something to lighten the movie plot. Like, it didn't have to be jokes, but just something to, keep us engaged and not feel, like, down and depressed. Because Snake Eyes movie was as dark visually as story-wise, and a laugh here or there would really just have helped in my personal engagement with it all. That's my thoughts on these two very similar but completely different movies. If it's not clear, I definitely prefer The Ten Rings over Snake Eyes, but I can see flaws and gems in both movies. I feel the Joe franchise has a lot of potential to become something Marvel level, which is why I wanted to compare these two movies. The franchise just needs people invested and caring about the G.I. Joe world as the people in Marvel are about theirs. But this is all the time I have for today. I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!